People are giving up living in the city of Austin just like this, and they're moving to suburbs like this. In fact, we're gonna come back and show you this suburb later in the video. All right, so let's start on the list of the reasons why people are leaving Austin, and then we'll get to those cities and areas that they are moving to. So let's start with infrastructure as one of the major issues. So Austin grew faster than just about any other city in America between 2010 and 2020 and jumped up 21%. And then the pandemic hit and then it grew even faster. The biggest problem is people that have moved here have seen that Austin has just not kept up with the growth. Look, when I moved here in 2013, I had lived in cities in California. I had lived in cities in Phoenix. I'd grown up in the Central Valley of California, which when I moved to Austin and looked at Austin, I looked at it as this nice mix between being a small city, having that rural feel, and that's a reason a lot of people moved here. And when I moved here, home prices were $275,000 for a 2,000 square foot, three bedroom with an office, 2 bath. And you're talking 15 minutes to downtown. It was green, lush, and beautiful, but that infrastructure still wasn't there. And it has been growing. And a lot of people that are complaining, in fact, we're going to talk about a Facebook group post that I made where a lot of people are echoing a lot of the sentiments that I said on here. But right now you're seeing the I-35 expansion. You're seeing the 71 expansion as well. All of that is going to take a lot of time, and a lot of people just are tired of it. They're tired of sitting in traffic. And, a lot of the people that moved here, if you're one of those people that moved to Austin in 2020, 21, 22, you were able to work from home. A lot of people are going back to work. So that commute to downtown is a problem sometimes. And then on top of that, look, the density push. Everything is pushing in Austin to go more dense. So if I'm somebody looking to expand my family or maybe want more of that outside feel where it's a little more country feel, I'm not going to get that in Austin. Everything is building way more densely. So if I want more space, I'm going to go to one of the spaces like we're going to talk about later in the video. Next up, let's talk about schools. Schools are an extremely hot button topic for the Austin area. Now, let's be honest, AISD, which is Austin, Travis County, is not the top of the list as best school districts for Austin. Around Austin, you have Dripping Springs, Lake Travis, Round Rock schools, even Eanes, which is the premier school district. So when people are moving here and they have kids and they get into the AISD school district, they run into a lot of these problems. In 2023 alone, the district closed 10 campuses due to declining enrollment and budget cuts, even though the metro was still growing. Well, why? Families were leaving for neighborhood districts with better ratings, newer facilities, and more consistency. According to niche.com, Leander ISD, Dripping Springs ISD, Eanes ISD are consistently ranked among the top 10 school districts in Central Texas, while AISD struggles with staff shortages, overcrowding classrooms, and in some areas, under enrollment in others. Parents want stability. They want strong extracurriculars, responsive leadership, and safe campuses. And many realize they just can't get that. And they can get it 20 minutes outside of downtown. So this is why a lot of people are moving their migration out from downtown. Just like the article that Austin put out and the Austin Business Journal put out and Pods put out, Austin dropped from being a top 5 biggest metros. The next on this list is actually because a lot of the new companies are not moving downtown. Maybe Google is, and Meta had theirs, but a lot of these big companies are moving outside of town. If you think about Tesla, for example, Tesla is along the 130 corridor. So if I were going to move to Austin and go work at Tesla, I'm probably going to go live in Manor, Elgin, somewhere that's a lot more affordable than I would living in downtown Austin, right? And that is one reason that you're seeing people move from downtown Austin to outside areas, because look at all the major companies that are moving here. They're moving their campuses to Williamson County. Apple is close to Williamson County. A lot of these big companies are moving headquarters, and not just here in Austin. If you think about it, like Oracle relocated one of their headquarters not to Austin. Facebook relocated one of their headquarters. Google is still expanding and is going to be in the downtown campus. again, it's a tax break for them to actually get incentives to not be in Travis County, but to be in Williamson County. So that's why you're seeing the migration from Austin expand outward as companies move to the periphery. And let's be honest, if I'm going to live in Austin and commute to one of these outside areas, I might as well just move to a community like Georgetown or one of the other ones that I'm going to talk about on this list to work at Williamson County. Another big one that was just kind of interesting is actually politics. Now, a lot of people that left the pandemic moved to Austin because it's liberal leaning. And yes, I can say this based on bestplaces.net. So I went to bestplaces.net and I looked at the political landscape. Now, this isn't me getting political, but this is a lot of what I hear in the comment section from a lot of people is I don't want to live in Austin because of politics. Well, let's look at it. So Austin, Travis County leans in the last election almost 72% liberal. That's pretty darn liberal. In fact, it used to be a little higher. I want to say it was like 78%. So it's come down slightly. Now, let's look at Hayes County. Hayes County is a little bit more even depending on the area you live in and the city you live in, was 50% Democrat. Williamson County is only 49% Democrat. Bastrop is 55% Republican, and then Caldwell County is 78% Republican voting. So based on voting backgrounds. So people might move here and then get caught up in the politics that they don't like the politics. And so then they move out. That is something, if you're seeing that, you tell me, but I do hear from people all the time. I don't like Austin because it's too liberal. I don't like what city council is doing. On this channel, the comment section a lot of times gets out of hand. So if that's a comment that you've heard or a comment you made, drop that comment again so we can actually hear it in the comment section. And when I go to Facebook in a second, we'll go through some of the comments of what some people said. Now let's talk about the cost of living for Austin. Besides price of homes, which we'll get to in a second, the cost of living in Austin is considerably higher than the outside areas. Plus, like think about Austin. The city's budget is $5.9 billion. And the state of Texas right now is trying to reduce property taxes. And if you followed along this channel, the city of Austin is trying to get you to vote to increase property taxes. Most of the time is instead of trying to fix a problem, they are raising more tax dollars. In fact, we talked about on this channel how the convention center is leaving. So what they're going to do is raise a tax on hotels and increase the tax on hotels by 2% so they can recoup $27 million and use that for advertising to advertise Austin and travel in Austin. I asked you in that video if that was a good use of money. So things like this. In fact, this year, they're wanting to raise the budget again. $5.9 billion is actually more than Dallas's budget for the city. So it is a huge budget. But Austin is growing, right? It's growing, it's expanding its freeways, it's expanding everything. So this is another reason why I think people are leaving. Another reason why people are moving to the suburbs is the fact that new home construction is not in Austin. And in a minute, I will actually show you a graphic and show you why I say that. But home builders are building in the periphery where there's more land, Williamson County, Hayes County. And look, if I'm a home buyer, and along with affordability, I can go to a new construction home. I can get a lower price on a home typically than I can on a home in Austin. What we've done with a lot of our clients is negotiate on the price even better. We've gotten them better interest rates, better deals. And so there's more incentives for home buyers to buy outside of Austin than there is in Austin. Now, a lot of our resale homes, the sellers are having to really reduce prices on those or price them correctly. But for a home buyer, I get a much better deal in the periphery. This is another reason why I think people are leaving. Crime, we can talk about crime on here. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but you are able to go look at crimemap.com or Crime Spot. There's different sites to look at the crime map. So a lot of people that I hear in the comment section, and we'll go through that, have talked about crime being a reason why they've moved outside of Austin. And for me, moving here back in 2013, I literally loved how Austin was this quiet city. I like the slowness of living in South Austin. I have suddenly migrated further outside of Austin myself because it is just not the same laid back atmosphere. Me personally, I have a family. I want to have a laid back atmosphere, and that's why we moved further outside. If you know what city I moved to, drop it in the comment section. But let's talk about affordability. Between 2020 and 2022, home prices surged 65%, according to Austin Board of Realtors. At the peak, the median was $550,000. Now, when we look at the city of Austin, I actually have the numbers right here. The median is $443,000. If I take Travis County out of that, it actually drops the median to $400,000. You are seeing it right here on the screen. So it is much cheaper to live outside of Austin than it is in Austin. If we look at Travis County directly, $595,000 is the median. That is pretty darn expensive. So anyway, the MSA, the area outside of Austin, so the counties around Austin are much cheaper. So that's why you're seeing families move and people move outside of Austin, because it is cheaper. And then the jobs are further out as well. So you don't necessarily have to live in Austin. So far, do you agree with this list or not? I'm curious. Let me go over to Facebook. So here's a prime example of what people are saying to my posts. Why are people leaving Austin suburbs? JP says, usually better schools, safer, bigger backyards, family formation or expansion. Bill Kirby says, is this rhetorical? No, Bill, it's a real question. Dylan said that they want to go see him in North Austin. I don't believe that. And then Rod said, because it's Austin, it's a different vibe. So vibe is definitely on there. You know, on this channel, we've talked about different areas like Georgetown, Kyle, Buda. Those are the places people are moving to. In fact, I'll show you in a second where all the new construction's moving to. Kelly says they get more home for the money with higher rated schools. Samantha said schools and money for the most part. Austin is different now, was what Luther says. Glenn says, stop at a gas station in Austin along I-35, then one in Leander on 183 and report back. Okay. Sam says that AISD went woke. Stephanie Fun says housing cost. Emily says they are coming to Lago Vista for family, friends, laid back life. Lee says that as someone who did it, AISD is declining was a big motivator. More yard, bigger house. We live in Mueller, so it was getting very crowded. Money doesn't go as far in the center of town. We still live in Northwest Hills, just not the center. Ali says affordable living. Frank says it's cheaper. Jennifer Rouse says, I get sick of constant tax increases accompanied by increase in crime, defunding of the police, and the stark decline in the public school system. I didn't pay less for my house in the suburbs. I actually paid more, but I get lower taxes, better schools, and lower crime and actual stars in the skies. And then Laura says, I'm not in Texas, but in Austin many times. I'm going to guess the same reasons that they moved out of LA or San Francisco for the suburbs. So you tell me, is that what you agree with? Is that what you put in the comments section? Now let's get into where some of the people are actually moving to. So here's an example. If you look at Austin, the south of Austin, you have all of these projects being built south of Austin, right? Kyle, Buda, right? You also have all of these projects moving north. So you have Liberty Hill, you have Georgetown, all the way up in Jarrell, there's new build complexes. So these are the top selling new build complexes according to Austin Business Journal, and they're all south, they're east, and they are north. So they are not in Austin specific. So that is where all the new construction is going. So where's everybody moving to? Well, number 5 on the list is Pflugerville. More people moved to Pflugerville last year than most of the areas around Austin. Next on the list was Kyle. Kyle is one of those suburbs I think that is just expanding like crazy. In fact, we've had the mayor of Kyle on. So a lot of our clients have moved to Pflugerville, Kyle, and number 3 that they've moved to is Leander. Leander still has new constructions. They have deals. And so there's a lot going on in Leander. And look, the school districts there are rated really, really well, depending on where you are. The next on this list is actually, let me take you there. So Round Rock is actually number 2 on the list of places that people are moving to outside of Austin. And so why would they want to move to a place like this? So like I said earlier in the video, that the median price for Austin is just under $600,000. Our listing right here in this neighborhood in Round Rock is $362,000. So you're getting a 2,000 square foot home for almost half the price of what you would get in the Austin area. Plus you have all the amenities around you that you would need need in any area of Austin, right? Like this area right here, you've got Costco nearby. You got so many different things. This is a 3-bedroom, a 2.5 bath, 1950 square foot home, and it's 2018 build. So you're getting almost a brand new home, right? 6 years old, which is fairly new, for almost half the cost you would in Austin. That's another big reason why people are moving to suburbs like this over Austin. And then number 1 on the list, we've actually done a lot of video on this channel, and that is Georgetown. Well, why Georgetown? You have Wolf Ranch just being built there, the town square. There's a lot of construction and development going there. Costco's going in there. We actually did a full video, and you can check it out here on the channel, about Feathergrass, where you can get an acre property for $1 million with a pool for new construction. So there's so many areas outside of Austin that are developing faster than Austin can develop. And that is another reason why people are moving outside of Austin. So you tell me, was this a good video explaining where people are moving to, why they're moving to Austin? Do you agree? What is the number 1 reason why you moved into or out of Austin? You tell me in the comment section. And by the way, I'm Jeremy Knight, your favorite Austin realtor. Make sure you share this with a friend. And if you need to reach out to us to buy or sell a home, information is down below.